Say defeat the Washington machine and unleash the American dream. Are you saying the Republican Party is a big part of the problem?
It's a bipartisan problem, both sides. No matter what the spending plan that comes up, if the Democrats have a spending plan for domestic spending, they'll explode the debt at all costs. But sometimes conservatives will do the same thing.
And here now with reaction, the great one, nationally syndicated radio talk show host Mark Levin. You know, Mark, Republicans have this unnatural fear. They're timid, almost bordering on paranoia when it comes to using the power of the purse, their constitutional power, or advice and consent for fear that they will be blamed for a government shutdown. So I assume you agree that Republicans need to stand up and stand for something, as Rand is saying. Am I wrong in assuming that?
No, Rand Paul's exactly right, and you're exactly right. The problem is we've really had two conservative presidents in the last 100 years, probably, Coolidge and Reagan. The rest of them have pretty much been pro-government, corporatist types who build on top of what the left has created and what the progressives have created. Rather than try and unravel this massive federal leviathan that the left has created, they decide they're going to add their own ideas. You can even hear some of the establishment candidates talking now, defending Common Core. Common Core is a backdoor federalization of local education. You can hear them talking about open borders and how people love us and they should be able to have wave of illegal immigrants into this country. No, we need principled conservatives. You know, people under 50 in this country, Sean, have never had an opportunity to actually vote for a conservative president. And I think it's up to people like you and me and millions of others in our generation to give them the opportunity. It's exciting, it's invigorating to support somebody, not because you want to stop the Democrats, but because you really believe in what they're saying. You know, and a conservative candidate will, in fact, reignite excitement with the Reagan Democrats, the industrial midland of the country, and so forth. We ought to give it another opportunity.
You know, you have two non-establishment candidates now that have announced, two guys total that have announced, Ted Cruz and Rand Paul. And in the case of Cruz, he was attacked on day one. In the case of Rand Paul, before he even announced, this was the ad they ran against him, and I asked him about it last night. Watch this.
The Senate is considering tough new sanctions on Iran. President Obama says he'll veto them, and Rand Paul is standing with him. Rand Paul supports Obama's negotiations with Iran, and he doesn't understand the threat.
You know, it's ridiculous to think that they're a threat to our national security.
Rand Paul is wrong and dangerous. Tell him to stop siding with Obama, because even one Iranian bomb would be a disaster.
I would say that almost every element of the ad's a lie. I mean, they say I'm helping the president. I'm actually one who has said to the president that this deal, when it becomes final, has to be finalized by Congress. And I've said I've done that to actually strengthen the president's hand, but I do want him negotiating from a position of strength.
Do you think he has been?
No, I think that's what I'm trying to tell him, is that you're going to have to bring a deal back to us. And also, you should be coming to Congress and trying to get support. But see, democracy's messy, and he doesn't really want to dirty his hands with democracy. He does it all the time.
You know, forget about Reagan's 11th commandment, Mark. Think of the words that John McCain used. Wacko birds for Senator Cruz, wacko bird Rand Paul. There's a concerted effort to keep these guys down. Who's doing this?
Well, behind that ad are some Bush operatives. Jeb Bush operatives, George Bush operatives, Karl Rove operatives. They're behind it. They're using these super PACs to try and protect themselves while they trash these new faces, these conservatives who are trying to break through. And this is the point. We conservatives, we constitutionalists will never have an opportunity to defeat the Democrats unless we bust through, muscle through the Republican establishment that despises us. People need to remember, particularly young people out there, they tried to stop Reagan. The Bush family tried to stop Reagan. The Republican establishment tried to stop Reagan. There would have been no Reagan had they succeeded. And we talk about the next Reagan. Look, it doesn't matter if we have a next Reagan. We need the next fresh-faced conservative who will connect with the American people. But we're not going to have that chance as long as we keep getting these long-in-the-tooth, dug-in Republicans, these corporatists, who really are perfectly happy with big government as long as they're running it.
Yeah. Let me ask you, and dovetail here into the president's comments that he made on NPR. It's amazing to me that the Iranians in the middle of negotiations with Kerry and Obama say the destruction of Israel is non-negotiable, chanting death to America. The president was asked about making this a condition in an NPR interview. I want to play his answer. Listen to this.
The notion that we would condition Iran not getting nuclear weapons in a verifiable deal on Iran recognizing Israel is really akin to saying that we won't sign a deal unless the nature of the Iranian regime completely transforms. And that is, I think, a fundamental misjudgment. The key here is not to somehow expect that Iran changes.
Wait a minute. So we can't get the Iranians at the table to recognize Israel, and the president revealed this week that the breakout time, according to him, in year 13 for Iran making a weapon is 0. They can build a bomb with the Obama seal on it. What's your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, it's not even recognize Israel, let alone recognize it as a Jewish state. It has the right to exist. And the Iranians say, we're not going to discuss that, because I guess they don't. And Obama says, look, we're not going to discuss that either. Let me tell you something, Sean, which is absolutely disgusting and unconscionable for an American president. But I'll tell you what. If Barack Obama had been president rather than Ronald Reagan, the Soviet Union would still be around, because Reagan's attitude was that regime, that totalitarian regime that had fought 2 wars, that had been around a long, long time, that had nuclear missiles and tanks and planes and bombers and everything else, had to collapse. And he did everything he could to cause it to collapse, and it collapsed. And he would never have said, look, we can't change the Soviet regime, so we'll negotiate the best deal we can with it. His attitude was, no, we're going to use economic sanctions, we're going to build up the military, we're going to use our satellite countries and our allies, and we're going to take that regime down without firing a bullet.
Yeah. Let me ask you.
Barack Obama is a disaster. He's the worst president in my lifetime. There's no question about that.
All right, I wanted to comment on 2 more things. Governor Walker is coming up next to respond to the attacks on Obama, so we'll get to that. Your thoughts on that, and also your thoughts on Dick Cheney. We played it with Mark Stein in the last segment, that Obama's doing exactly what one would do if they wanted to take America down. Your reaction to both those things?
You know, Sean, the great Associate Justice to the Supreme Court, Joseph Story, our great President, Abraham Lincoln, our great President, Ronald Reagan, all of them and more said that if America is to be destroyed, it won't be because of any foreign force. It'll be from within. And I want to congratulate Barack Obama and the other ideological types out there. You are destroying my country. You are doing exactly what you have always wanted to do. And it is up to people like us and the Republican Party and conservatives to try and stop him, and then when he's out of office, to try and rebuild what's left of our republic.
All right, any advice for Scott Walker, who's up next?
I'd say, Scott Walker, keep kicking ass. That's what I would say.
All right, Mark Levin, the great one. Thank you.